I'm here with Ian, who has bought a shared ownership property back in start of lockdown.
Yeah.
So that's
January 2020.
Okay. So you've been there a couple of years. What made you consider shared ownership then?
Deposit.
Deposit.
There's no way I could buy outright in London.
It was a need then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got in with an £8,000 deposit, which is really low as they go. But my flat value for sort of 10% deposit, I'd need about 42 minimum. And
Wow.
That ain't going to happen because when you're spending that amount on rent,
No.
you ain't saving that amount.
No,
So,
quite. What?
Yeah.
How did you discover shared ownership then? Because it must have been pretty depressing before you knew about shared ownership, thinking I'm never going to get on the ladder here.
Luckily, one of my friends was an estate agent and she'd done it. And so I'd heard sort of success stories because she did it a long time ago
Yeah.
when houses were going up in such huge value. So she used the process and is now mortgage free in Plymouth
Wow.
by doing what she did. So
Mortgage free.
yeah, she bought like 60 grand here, paid interest only, then it went up in value, she sold it, that got her a proper mortgage on a real place, carried on paying that, then she sold that in London and moved to Plymouth
What a
mortgage free.
success story.
So
It's encouraging that someone in the game, an estate agent, went down the shared ownership road. I think that's very
Yeah.
encouraging.
And I know her value went up so much because she did it years ago and mine won't do that, but she was a success story because you do hear people say it's a good and bad points, but all I've heard is good from her, so I was like, oh, I'll give it a go. It gets me on the ladder.
What's been your experience of it then? First of all, how did you find the property? Did you use your traditional search engines or?
It all started on holiday. I had an advert come up on Facebook about a property saying that you could get in with a £5,000 deposit, and I'd been saving a couple of years.
I put those in my junk. That's too good to be true. Bam.
Yeah, well, I clicked on it and I was like, well, it's worth a look because I was in a place that I could only be in for 5 years on intermediate rent because you're meant to save and then buy.
Right.
So I was doing the saving and I thought I'd need the full 5 years, but I'd already got that £5,000. So I was like, well, why carry on renting if I can do it? So I thought, well, have a go. So I went to do the viewing and then, because I clicked on it, cookies kicked in and adverts were coming through left, right and centre, and then I found out about the Share to Buy website that came through, did about 6 viewings and then saw this one and that was it.
I think that's probably the optimal amount of viewings before you just get confused anyway, 6.
Yeah, and some of them, like, because you have to apply for shared ownership, so you have to sort of be in the right area or the right job and you have to pass criteria. And in this scheme, I was allowed a 2-bed, whereas in other schemes, I was only allowed 1 bed, and sometimes the location wasn't good. Sometimes they were terrible. I did one viewing.
Well, it's property. There's the horse for course, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but there was one viewing I did, and because I was trying to improve my credit score, I'd bought my sofa on credit and was paying it off, and I got the tape measure out, and my sofa didn't fit in the lounge. And the lady showed me around and said to me, well, can't you just buy a new sofa? I was like, well, I haven't finished paying for this one yet. So that one was out. And when I viewed this one, it was big. It's a good size. The commute was good. And I was like, well, why keep looking?
You sound very organised. The fact that you are measuring your potential property for furniture, as a selling agent, I'd be thinking, oh God, where are we going with this?
Well, I didn't have a lot. You know, I had like a bed and a sofa, and where I'd got them on tick and was paying them off to improve the credit rating, I was keeping them.
I think
that was it.
I think that's good advice, really. So you chose your favourite property for a number of reasons. First of all, your sofa could go through the door.
Yeah.
Tick. You mentioned criteria, as in you need to live in a certain area and sometimes have a certain sort of job. What was your criteria then?
Didn't want to make the commute that much bigger than what it was before, and luckily, because it was 2 stops further away from where I was living, it wasn't that far, but it's a quicker walk to the station, so the commute is the same time.
Right.
So it was the commuting distance. I tried living further away, and I just know I want a manageable commute with a manageable expense. It was a balance of the two.
Yeah, well, it's commute is a major part of anyone's decision making, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the fact that you already lived nearby, did that play a hand then?
No, Not so much, because I was living in Kensal Green, and then I did some viewings like over in Docklands and
Oh, wow.
Alberton. I was sort of firing around. I was like about a half-hour commute from work in London, which gave me a fairly big zone. But yeah, it was just literally this when I walked in, I fitted.
Was it brand new or was it
Yeah.
a resale?
No, I think 95% of shared ownership are the brand new ones,
Yeah.
unless we then move on.
Mhm.
So yeah, they were all new I was looking at, and that's just always nice as well.
Oh gosh, yeah. So what changes have you made? Or have you decorated, or you've been there a couple of years?
Yes, I say luckily there was lockdown and I was on furlough, so it gave me lots of time to decorate. So both bedrooms decorated, hallway is now dark purple.
Wow.
Statement entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had plenty of time to get the
But
paintbrushes
you've made
out.
it your own. That must be hugely rewarding.
That's the thing as well, shared ownership, because you do own it. Yes, you rent some, but you own it, so you haven't got that landlord saying to you, you're not allowed a purple hallway.
No.
You can do what you want, it's yours. You can do it.
That's pretty empowering, really, isn't it? And that's one of the main things of any kind of home ownership, really. You want to make it your home, not estate agent friendly. It's yours.
Yeah, well, I'm not planning on selling it anytime soon, and I might need to go around with a lot of white paint if I do, but for the time being, it's mine.
Good for you. So how did you find the process then, from the very start, deciding, oh, actually, this shared ownership looks interesting, to getting the keys? And how long did it take?
So that first advert came up in October, which started the process of me thinking, well, why wait a few more years? Let's get doing this. Then I viewed this one beginning of December. Then it all went a little bit tricky because admittedly I had a holiday, so I had to do...
Taking holidays when you're buying a house?
Yeah, and I had to do half the mortgage application with a 10-hour time difference from the beach in Vietnam, which made it awkward.
Literally. Is that my heart bleeding on my shirt? Flippin' heck.
Then obviously then Christmas kicked in, so all the office was shut, and then sort of all came back sorted and was like, is this going ahead? And on the 3rd of January got the yes, moved in on the 17th of January.
What? So on the 3rd of January, you got your mortgage offer.
Yeah,
When did you move in?
17th of January. And I only
No.
viewed it on the 17th of December.
No.
The whole, from the actual viewing to moving in was about a month.
That's the quickest I've ever heard.
It was brilliant.
Wow. Well, I remember traditional properties, I was selling a couple, and you couldn't get the searches in. You did extremely well.
Especially
Well
with the
done.
time difference and all by
Yeah,
email.
good for you. Okay, so you're in the house now. What would you do differently apart from going on a long haul holiday halfway through the conveyancing?
I don't think there's anything I'd do differently because it works for me. Like,
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
what would you say to someone in your shoes a year ago, a year before you purchased?
Well, I was lucky because my flat came with a promotion of it was either 6 months rent free on the portion you rent, or they said they'd do 3 months rent free and then cover the legal fees. So because they were covering the legal fees, I had to use the company they recommended that they work with. So they sorted out through the mortgage supermarket, my mortgage advisor, and everything. And so yeah, pick wisely, get your offers, do it, and it made it really helpful because they wanted the sale
Yeah.
and I wanted to purchase, and using their companies and their processes,
I normally
got it
recommend
done.
in property terms for people to shop around, but because it's a specific product, you want people that are used to doing this day in, day
Yeah,
out, and
follow
sounds
the
like that's what
experts.
you got. Yeah.
They know what they're doing. They sell them every day, so let them get on with it.
You've bought sounds like brand new property.
Brand new, 2-bed.
What do you think the advantages are of buying a brand new property over an older one?
Well, you get your defects period, so if anything's wrong with it, you got the guarantee.
How long's that?
sorted. It varies. Ours was 2 years, but I was the last one to move in on the block, and the 2 years was nearly up, so I only got about 4 months.
So that's
from
something
moving.
worth researching, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, but then speaking to my neighbours, because that's the other thing, it's become like a really friendly block, I think, because we've all moved in and we've all bought and we've all got 25-year mortgages, etc.
Right.
There's a real community built up.
Is
And we
there?
all-
That's good.
Yeah, or even in lockdown, sort of bumped into someone in the corridor, they were like, we'll join the WhatsApp group. And I might not have met my neighbours for a year, but we were all chatting on WhatsApp and giving people advice and stuff. So, yeah, you get your defects period, and it's new, and it's all white, obviously, and it's a blank canvas, and you can make it your own and do what you want with it.
All purple.
Yeah.
People from all walks of life buy shared ownership properties. What's the mix like in your development? I mean, what are your neighbours like?
Oh, they're very mixed. Next door is Spanish, upstairs is a nurse, downstairs works in theatre company. We've got everyone.
Sounds like a really cool community, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, it's nice.
Was that a big attraction to you, or was it just a happy surprise?
Happy surprise.
Yeah.
What luck? Had no idea. Yeah, literally, because it was lockdown after I'd moved in quite promptly,
Mhm.
it was all a bit, I've got no idea who anyone is. But yeah, joining that WhatsApp group, I have to mute it because I do shifts and they all chat at random times and about random stuff.
Has anybody got space in their recycling bin?
Yeah, but yeah, just sort of getting to know people throughout the chat.
Yeah.
And now we've all started to actually meet and go down the pub, and we've realised that we are neighbours and going to be neighbours for quite a while. So I think that helps, because renting in London, hadn't really met many neighbours before. You do feel a bit
Sure.
isolated, but actually buying, it seems to be a bit more, we are a new block of community of people
Yeah.
that are going to have to get on because we're going to be stuck together for quite a while.
Did you speak to your parents about shared ownership and what you were doing, and what was their reaction?
Yes, I did. And because my brother had just completed the process about a year or two previously, they'd heard about it and knew what was going on. They're also quite practical, because that I'd showed them about a year previously, my home, my grow-up house,
Yeah.
had just gone on sale, and I showed them how much it was on sale for, and they were flabbergasted, and I was like, see, there's no way I'm ever going to buy our family home.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. Showing your parents the other alternative, which is none, gets them on side thinking, okay, well, he's got a point then. Because it's new to your parents, isn't it? The older
It is.
generation don't know anything about it, really, do they?
No, they were a bit, I think the brother had explained a lot of it, and I said to them, look, if I'm going to get on, then I'm not going to have that deposit, and I'm waiting for you to help.
Yeah, probably cost.
But this gets me on the ladder. I've started. So now I pay rent and mortgage. Because the whole thing is, I just don't want to be paying private rent on a pension.
No.
'Cause that's getting so expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky, my pension's quite reasonable, but I still don't want to spend it all on that.
No.
You know, they've done well, they've retired to Spain, they have a nice life, and I want a nice life on
Well,
retirement.
yeah, why shouldn't you?
So now I know that at least when the mortgage finishes, my rent is payable on a
Yes.
pension. There is the staircasing option. I'll buy more. That then reduces the rent because I've paid off more of it.
Do you think you might consider that?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't personally see the need to own 100% of it.
No.
I've got no kids to leave it to and whatnot. I don't care. But if I can just bring the rent down to, I don't know, 300 quid,
Doable,
then
isn't it?
that,
How
that
much of it
makes
do you own now?
25%. So
Okay.
I've got quite a way to go. But yeah, it's all like balanced out, and yeah, I think at the moment the mortgage is about 500 and the rent's 800. Change those shares around, own 50%, 75%, that rent comes down to,
Well, you're young enough.
pensionable
You're young
amount.
enough to focus on the future, being, not immediate. But if you have that plan to staircase and reduce your rent, I think it's a very, very good one. It'll stand you in good stead for the future, won't it?
Well,
and you never
even-
know what's around the corner. Maybe you'll sell and buy a traditional house then.
well, that's the thing. So I'm paying it off. I'm not just renting. I'm paying it off. I'm getting equity. It's mine, which is like that friend. She had 25%. It went up so much in value. When she sold, she made 60 grand profit to then get a not shared ownership. By the time I finished the mortgage and I'm ready to retire, I then own 25% of it, if that's all I've got. Could be enough to then sell and move to the country, or to the seaside or anything.
If
or
only
I
there's a
can stay.
television show you could go on
I
to just
know.
go to the country.
Do you know one?
I'll have a think. But your story will be inspiring to people. You know, there'll be people looking at this that are very new to shared ownership. But the fact that you're doing it, I know people that have done it, that's the reality now. It's not a dream anymore. It gets you out of the rental market and you're now saving towards something. I know you're paying money to do it, but you're saving towards a future now.
Yeah, so there's equity building in the property and it's mine, I own it. If I change the percentages, that's great, but I have 25%, so in 20 years' time, when I retire, if it's gone up X amount, I get that X amount increase.
Yeah.
And it's just all, you're just paying off something as opposed to completely wasting money on very expensive rent. And the rent versus what I'm paying now were very similar.
Yeah.
So it just feels like I'm building something up for the future as opposed to just throwing it.
That's
all
exactly
away.
what you are doing, but you've also got your own place, your own home to decorate and do whatever you want with.
We got cats.
You've got cats. See, that's the other thing.
We're allowed
People don't
pets.
realise that. You're allowed pets. You're allowed to paint walls purple. I mean, in a couple of, by the time you staircase, the interior of that place is going to look pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But it's an inspiration. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope people look at this and think, that could be me too.